Hello again, welcome to another edition of Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of caged birds, with a special focus on the exhibition style budgerigar. Now I know in the last few episodes, and probably in this one as well, the budgerigars have taken a bit of a second place to the Fife canaries, mainly because I've virtually finished breeding the budgerigars and we're in that in-between phase with them where you know, I've closed most of the breeding cages down. We will have a look at the last one in this episode, and most of the young birds now are just, you know, molting out their first molt, and I'm just keeping an eye on them and watching how they're developing really, whereas the Fifes are now in the middle of their breeding season with, as we will see later, round one, or their first round, just about weaned, and they're now well into their second round with eggs and sitting on eggs. So it is really, you know, like I say, the budgerigars are taking a bit of a back seat. If you're here just for the budgerigars and not for the overall sort of, you know, bird keeping, general bird keeping and the Fifes, then do stay with us, because we will come back to the budgerigars very, very shortly, particularly as the show season begins. So like I say, do stay with us, and there we will go back to them. However, in this episode we will talk a bit more about the budgerigars, because I had a couple of questions come in and I will try to answer those in this episode. Right, as always, if you enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button. All the likes do help the channel to grow. I do like to try and get up to about 30 likes per video, because it sort of helps then in terms of that algorithm and stuff. If there is anything you want to see in in future episodes, then do leave a comment either on the Facebook page or on the in the comment section of the YouTube video. And if you're not yet a subscriber, don't forget, please do subscribe to the channel. All the extra subscriptions again help the channel to grow and promote the hobby more widely across social media. Right, what we'll do first is we'll start with the budgerigars, have a look at the final pair and see how they're getting on, and then answer the questions that came in. So as I said, I want to do a quick talk about that breeding budgies, I suppose, and this is actually a second time of me trying to record this. The first time it lasted about 15 minutes of just me talking, so I thought I'd cut down a little bit on what it is. So it's going to be a very brief explanation of some of the key bits from my point of view. Just bear in mind, this is just my view, and there are lots of other views out there, so do take a look online and in the various publications and such about breeding budgerigars. So like I say, this is in my shed. I will, of course, do a bit more explanation of all of this as I come up to the breeding season again in September, October time. So if you want a bit more information about how I go about breeding my budgies in my shed, then please do watch those videos, and there are lots of videos in the, I suppose, already on in the channel, so you can go back and have a look at those. So I suppose the main thing when you're breeding exhibition style budgerigars, or any bird in fact, is to think about condition. If the bird's out of condition, then it's unlikely to breed. So it looks a bit off colour. If it's in a full molt, don't even think about trying to put him into the breeding cage. The chances are that it's spending too much energy either trying to get itself fit again or trying to get itself out of the molt. So think about the condition. The second bit around condition is around its breeding condition. Now I find, it's just me, I find that cockbirds will come into breeding condition if they've got a hen in the cage with them that is ready to breed. It doesn't take much to get the cockbird into breeding condition and getting ready to mate with a hen if the hen is in condition. So with that in mind, I'll talk a bit more about the hen. Now, You'll often hear people talk about looking at the cere on the hen, because it should be just starting to turn that sort of chocolate brown, so not the blue colour and not the really crusty brown, which means it's gone over a little bit, but that's starting to go that brown colour. And whilst I don't disagree with that, I have found that some hens never get to that stage. I've had hens that, you know, have still got that relatively light blue colour, that blue and white on their cere, and have still bred successfully in the breeding cage, but have never got that chocolate colour on there. So whilst that's a good indication, be aware that some hens just never seem to get to there. The main indication to me that a bird is in breeding condition, or that hen is in breeding condition, is if you keep an eye on them in the flight, you will see a hen starting to gnaw at stuff, whether that be the wooden frames, or whether that just be the perches, or whatever. She will start to get that urge to start gnawing, and that's an indication to me that she's coming into breeding condition. The other thing is you will often find that cockbirds will start to follow her around. She may be being followed around by more than one cockbird, or she may have decided which cockbird she wants, and you will see them interacting. So there'll be a lot more of interaction between the cockbird and the hen. In the flight, you'll often see cockbirds interacting in a way that you might expect when the cockbird's in breeding condition. Hens, I find, again, this is just me, in the flight, if they're not in breeding condition, they sort of stay on their own. They don't really bother with the cockbirds too much. So if she's interacting with a cockbird, if she's gnawing at any wood that's in the cage or anything else that's in the road, good indication that she's in breeding condition, and you might want to take her out and put her into a breeding cage. If you see her mating in the flight, then again that's another indication that she's in breeding condition, but you might have found at that stage that she's pair bonded. Quite often though, once you break the bond in the breeding cage, she'll go down with any cockbird that's in there just because she wants to breed, you know, she wants to reproduce. So that's really around the condition side of things. I won't talk about compatibility too much because I've done a video on looking at how you can, you know, pair up, how I personally pair up, looking at faults and what feature I might want to be gaining out of the two birds. The other thing I would say that I do, that I think is quite helps in terms of getting the birds ready, is I tend to put the hen in first. All the birds are very noisy today, but I tend to put the hen in first, and I will have the nest box on the outside of the cage, but it will be closed. So in other words, I use box and box type, so I will just turn it round so that the hen can't get into the nest box. She will begin to show an interest in the nest box if she's in condition, and again she will start gnawing on the outside of the nest box to try and get access to it. And I find again this sort of stimulates her. After about a day or two, I will pop the cockbird in there. Once he's in there and he sees that she's interested in the nest box, most times he will become interested in her. After about another day, I'll turn the nest box round, open it up, and that will let her access the box. But inside the box, I normally put a large amount of nesting material in there. I use wood shavings. This again stops her from sitting in the box. I want her out so that the cockbird can mate with her, but also encourage her to start clearing the nest box out. And this is like the natural behaviour of a hen when she's clearing a hole in a tree out. So, and again, I think it stimulates breeding both in terms of the cockbird and the hen. If you find that the hen hasn't gone into the nest box, I would say that the nesting material helps me identify whether she's been in there or not, because it will be disturbed, and also there might be a large pile of it outside the nest box. If I find that she's not been in the nest box after 2 weeks, I would begin to think about splitting them, because she's clearly not in the condition that we thought she was, and definitely after 3 weeks I would take her out and perhaps find that cockbird another hen. or put another hen in there that's in condition that is suitable for him. I hope that helps in terms of that, you know, breeding exhibition budgerigars. Like I say, come September when we start to put them down again, I'll go through the whole process in more detail. We mentioned from Movie Maker Wannabe about trimming vents. We trim vents on both the cock, I do anyway, on both the cockbird and the hen, because with exhibition style budgerigars there tends to be a lot more feather, and quite often this can interfere with the mating process, so the cockbird won't get a good connection with the hen in order to pass the sperm across. When you're trimming, you can either trim or pluck, or you can do a mixture of both. Me personally, I pluck, and the reason I do that is because I find that if I have tried trimming, it tends to take me longer, just because I'm trying to make sure I don't cut the birds with the scissors, and you know, keeping the legs out the way, all that sort of thing. And I think that the amount of time I take can be a bit more stressful for the birds. Plucking undoubtedly is more painful for the birds, after all you're plucking feathers out, but I can do this relatively quickly, and you know, I can have it all over and done with within under 30 seconds, and I can have the bird back into the cage. So I think overall for me, plucking is less stressful than trimming, but other people will have a different idea, and undoubtedly you will find your best way of doing it, whether that be plucking or trimming, or a mixture of both. Of course, do remember to try and avoid the guide feathers on the cockbird, because otherwise this aids in his mating. Right, so that's enough on the breeding of exhibition style budgerigars. Let's see how cage number 6 is getting on then. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little look at how I personally prepare the birds ready to go into the breeding cages, so what I look for and so forth. Like I say, it is just the way I do it, so if you've got something else that you do, pop them in the comments, and we'll mention those in the next video perhaps. So like I say, do comment on it if there's something that I've missed, or something that you do that you think helps get the birds into condition and get some breeding, then yep, mention it in the comments and we'll mention it in the next video. So cage number 6 then, unsuccessful I'm afraid. You may remember from the last video, this hen laid 2 eggs I think it was, and there was a gap, and she's now laid a further 6 eggs. I was hoping that those second 6, you know, the first few were clear. I was hoping the second 6 were going to be full, because I had seen the cockbird treading the hen, but unfortunately I've candled all of those eggs and all of them are clear. So my plan with this pair is they're going to be split, so I'm going to take the cockbird out shortly. He will go straight back into the flight. The hen, I will let her sit these eggs for the next week or so, gradually removing the eggs every couple of days. Once they're all out, I will close the nest box, leave her in the breeding cage for about another week, 2 weeks, just to have a bit of a rest, and then she will go back into the main flight. And that will bring to an end this year's breeding season of the budgerigars. Not a great season, didn't produce that many chicks, but there we go, we have those ups and downs, don't we, the ups and downs of the breeding season. So that's it from inside here. What we'll do now is go out and look at the Fife, where actually it's been a bit more successful. Well, welcome to the outside flight and to Fifes from breeding to bench. So the Fifes are all going here at the moment, so it's keeping me really busy. So you may remember from the last episode we had chicks that had fledged, so they'd jumped the nest and were on the cage floor, and I'd moved the old nest site down to the cage floor, and I'd put a new nest site in there. The hens had started, I think one of them had started to build up, the other one hadn't in the last episode. They've now both built up quite quickly, and both hens have started to lay again. This time round, you might remember in the first round they laid 4 eggs each. This time round they actually both laid 3 eggs each, just coincidence. They've both got 3 eggs, and then that was the end of the round. So far I've not candled those eggs just yet, so they're still a bit young. I've only just reset them, and so I haven't yet candled them, but the hens are sitting tight, which is always nice. As for the youngsters, I never really saw, every time I was in here, saw them feeding, but they looked fine, and they were actually on the top perches and, you know, were flying around. And occasionally when I came in to feed them and the hen was off the nest, cockbird singing away in the background, occasionally when I come in and the hen came off the nest to feed when I was putting the soft food in, the one or two of the chicks, well, 1 chick in each of the cages actually, would go up and sit on or outside of the new nest. So whilst I hadn't seen them feeding, they also weren't calling for food at all. So in fact this time round I hardly heard them calling for food, you know, from the moment they jumped the nest. So so I have now moved them. They're now in a cage on their own, all 4 of them. So all 4 of the chicks that we got off the 4 full eggs. So we had 4 full eggs and got 4 chicks. They're in a single cage together at the moment. There's 1 or 2 of them that I quite like to look at. There's a particular one from the top cage, which is a variegated, I think it's a variegated buff, or it might be yellow. I'm just looking at him now. So that I quite like. And there's one of the greens. I think it's actually a green, so a south, rather than the one that's ticked. Also looks quite nice, but I haven't got them out of the cage yet, so put them in a showcase to have a reasonable look at them. But those are 2 that have caught my eye. One of them unfortunately has lost its tail, and that was I think Mum, when she wanted to go back down to nest, pulled it, so hopefully that will grow back. So they've now been in that cage for about 24 hours, and I have seen them when I put the seed in. They do go down, and I've seen, you know, them picking at the seed. I've seen them picking at the soft food. So touch wood, all's going to be well, and those chicks will be weaned. And in the next few days we should have a look at the eggs and see if they are full or not. So hopefully we'll have 3 full eggs in each cage. But you know, if we get 1 or 2, maybe I'll move some around, if or move chicks around if there's 1 in one and 2 in the other, just to get a full nest of 3. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's hope that we get 4 full eggs in the... Sorry, there's a robin sat on the fence opposite me at the moment who has something in his mouth, and I thought he was going to come down to a nest somewhere in the garden, which I haven't seen. I know we've got blue tits nesting in one of the boxes, but I have not seen the robin where that's nesting. But he's back down again and looking at me as if he's going, I'm not going into the hedge till I'm happy that you're out the way. Anyway, I'll get out the way as quick as I can. So I have the door open on the shed when I'm filming. I'll get out of his way as quickly as I can. Like I say, that's it from in here then. All going well. And if you keep an eye on Instagram and Facebook page, when I come to candle those eggs, I will put an update on there. Of course, there will be an update from in Fifes from breeding to bench in the next episode as well. Right, that's it from out here then. So all going well out there in the Fifes so far, touch wood. Those 4 birds will be safely weaned now in the cage, so I'm continuing to give them soft food and a tonic seed, a small dish of tonic seed, and of course normal seed. I've seen most of them picking at all of those, so hopefully we will be all right out there. So that does bring us to the end of another episode of Shed Talk. If you did enjoy it, then please do hit the like. Remember, we're trying to get up to that magic 30 likes number. If you're not yet a subscriber and you've watched right to this point here, then you may as well hit the subscribe button. But most importantly, as always, do stay safe and enjoy your birds.